Hello guys, this is Riya Deshwal and you're back on my channel Crux of English, and today we are going to continue the series that we were already studying, which was of modern writers that we see in English literature that are important from the UGC NET point of view. And I hope you are following this series, the entire series, because all of it is important, and as much as you'll read it and you'll understand it, it'll be better for you, because modern age as a topic in itself is really important for UGC NET, especially in English literature. So let's continue with our series, and today we are going to talk about Aldous Huxley. So the first thing that you need to remember about him is that he was against Pavlovian psychology. Now, if you have studied anything about educational psychology, you would understand what it means. But for others, I will try to make you understand what it means. Pavlovian psychology is when you treat a child with carrot and stick to get whatever you want. Okay, so if there's a child and you first give him carrot to make what you want the child to do, to make it happen, and then if you use the stick to make it happen, that is Pavlovian psychology. This is specially seen as student educational psychology, but it could be applied to anything. When you use carrot or stick to get what you want, that is known as Pavlovian psychology. Now, another thing that you need to remember about Aldous Huxley is that he was a student of George Orwell. We have already studied about George Orwell. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it. It will be really helpful for you. He was nominated 7 times for a Nobel Prize. Okay, this is important. So there could be a question, for example, in UGC NET or GATE, that these are the personal details about Aldous Huxley, and they would give you certain points that what writer, what artist, literature artist are all these characters related to, and you would have to guess who that writer is. So the writer, who is a student of George Orwell, follows Pavlovian, rejects Pavlovian psychology, and was nominated 7 times for a Nobel. He also follows Vedanta philosophy. If you would want to know more about Aldous Huxley, he also follows Vedanta philosophy. So all these things are just personal details about Aldous Huxley that are important from that point of view. Now let's talk about the works. The first is Chrome Yellow. Now there aren't a lot of works that are important from the perspective of going into details, so you should not go into details of all these works of Aldous Huxley. The only work that is important, that you have to read the details of, is Brave New World, and you should read the details about it. I will also explain you what happens in Brave New World, but other than that, from that point of view, other works are not that important, and you should just remember the names and certain characteristics of the book. Okay, the second book that is it's called Antique Hay. Antique Hay came out in 1923. It's said about this book that this is a novel of ideas, not a novel of people. This is what I said about this book. Now, there's a special quality about Aldous Huxley, and that's important for you to remember, is that most of the titles of his books are taken from some other writer. For example, this is taken from Antique Hay is taken from Edward II, written by Christopher Marlowe. So NTK is taken from, the title is taken from Edward II, which was written by Christopher Marlowe. Now the next work is that we are going to talk about is, give me a second. The next work that we're going to talk about is Those Barren Leaves. The title is taken from Tables Turned. It's a poem written by William Wordsworth. You should remember this. Those Barren Leaves is a book by ALDOUS HUXLEY, but the title is taken from Tables Turned, written by William Wordsworth. Next is Point Counterpoint. Point counterpoint is a Romanik clef. We've already talked about what Romanik clefs are. If you haven't watched the video where we talk about Romanik clefs, go watch it. It's important for you to know. We have talked about it in D.H. Lawrence, because this is a book that's written by both ALDOUS HUXLEY and D.H. Lawrence. So I've already discussed what a Romanik clef is in the video of D.H. Lawrence. If you haven't watched, go watch it. D.H. Lawrence. Okay. Point counterpoint. Now the next is, I'll give you a short idea from what Romanik clef is. Romanik clef is when there are two books. One is a key of the another book, because there are some historical allusions in first book which are explained in the second book, which is the key to the first book, which is a Romanik clef. That's how Romanik clefs are written. Now the next one that we are going to talk about is Brave New World. Brave New World. Brave New World. It's the main first let's talk about the main characters. The main characters are director, his wife called Linda, their son is called John. There are two caretakers in the book. These are both caretakers. The name is Lenina Crone, and the second one is Bernard Marx. So these are the two caretakers. He works in the psychological department. So he is a psychological caretaker. So Bernard Marx, John, who is the son of the director, and Linda, he is somewhat abnormal psychologically. He is somewhat abnormal, and he is being taken care by Bernard Marx. So John is being taken care by Bernard Marx. Now another thing that you really need to know about this book is that there are 5 different castes that are created. 5 new castes that are created. They are called Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta and Epsilon. These are the 5 new castes that are created in this world, and these castes are in this new world where John is taken by Bernard Marx. Bernard Marx takes Linda and John to this new world where there are these 5 castes created: Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta and Epsilon. Now when John gets there, he feels at home and he starts this rebellion by Deltas. Any new world that is created, or even the old ones, for example there are always people who feel that they are below on the ladder, and because of that they create chaos and they start their own rebellions. For example, there are different rebellions that are created by the people who are down on the ladder of power and money and privilege, because of which they feel like they're not given enough and they don't have enough, because of which they start their own rebellion. So John becomes the leader of the Deltas, and Deltas start a rebellion in this new world. So this is the most important book of Aldous Huxley, which is called Brave New World. Brave New World में जो main characters हैं वो है director Linda. They are husband and wife. They have a son called John who is a little psychologically abnormal. He is being taken care by his psychological caretaker called Bernard Marx. Bernard Marx take Linda and John to this new world where there are 5 different castes that are created, which is Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, and John becomes the leader of the deltas and starts a rebellion. This was all about Brave New World. Now there is a sequel to Brave New World which is called Brave New World Visited. This didn't become that famous as the Brave New World did. This was written about 30 years after, and this is set in 2040. I forgot to tell you, Brave New World, the book that we were talking about, was set in 2504 AD. So the first book, Brave New World, is set in 2504 AD, and Brave New World Revisited is set in 2040 AD. Now the next book that we are going to talk about is Devils of London. Now this book, the London is spelled this way in the book. Devils of London, this is a book. This talked about the sexual and psychological harassment of people in London in the 19th century. That's all you need to know about this book, Devils of London, which is written by Aldous Huxley. This is a book that talks about the sexual and psychological trauma and exploitation of people that happened in the 19th century. The next book that we are going to talk about is Doors of Perception. Doors of Perception is about a drug, and obviously how drugs create the problem of psychiatric problems. The subtitle of the book is Heaven and Hell. Now it's very symbolic, you can understand it yourself, because when we take experiments with drugs, when we do experiments with drugs, what we see is there is a different perception that comes in front of us. There's a different perception that a person on drugs would have from a normal person who is not on drugs, and it could be a part of a heaven or a hell. Now the title is taken from A Marriage of Heaven and Hell, which is written by William Blake. Okay, that's all about this book. The title is taken from A Marriage of Heaven and Hell, written by William Blake. William Blake was a writer that was writing in the Romantic age. You would all know that if you would have studied the Romantic age. Now Brave New World, हमने ब्रेव न्यू वर्ल्ड के क्या क्या देख लिया. एक तो ब्रेव न्यू वर्ल्ड आई, उसके बाद ब्रेव न्यू वर्ल्ड रीविजिटेड आई. ना ये बोथ जो थी डायस्टोपियन नॉवेल्स थी. डायस्टोपियन नॉवेल्स सबको पता है क्या होता है. डायस्टोपियन नॉवेल्स होती हैं द वन दैट इज ऑपोजिट to what it should be. Utopian novels are the ones where everything is good, everything is right. Dystopian novels are the opposite, and these both are dystopian novels. So Aldous Huxley wrote the third book called Island, which is in opposite of both these books, and this is a utopian novel. Okay, Brave New World Revisited, they are both dystopian novels, and Aldous Huxley wrote a third book called Island, which was in the opposite of both these books, and it is a utopian novel. We all know that dystopia is the opposite of utopia. Now that was all about Aldous Huxley. That is important from net perspective, and I hope you had a productive session with me, and please keep reading and keep revising everything, because net is not that far, and as much as you'll read and you'll revise it again and again, it'll be helpful for you. Okay, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe my channel.